right. Hello everyone. Okay, and I don't think this. Thank you guys for joining. Affordable Optics, Angelo, Ryan. Thank you guys. Can you guys hear me okay or no? I had to move the microphone. Perfect. Yeah, usually I have this thing, but it would actually take up way too much, and I really did not want to hook up my video recording stuff just yet. So we're going off of this. All right. So once again, thank you guys for coming. I'm really excited. This is actually the first live stream. I really wanted to say I wanted to do this a lot earlier, but about 3 months ago, I made the mistake of streaming a pay-per-view boxing match, and I made the mistake of doing it on the main channel, and YouTube apparently did not like that at all. So, and I got my coffee so it can actually be okay. All right, so what I wanted to cover, if you have any questions, just throw them in the comment box or in the chat session. I'll make sure to answer those. What I had prepped was I wanted to talk about the gun industry. So, as some of you may or may not know, and a big welcome to people who are joining who follow me for my firearms research and financial work from Seeking Alpha. Or if you're just gun guys, well, the gun guys probably wouldn't know that besides making the videos, I cover the firearms industry and I publish research both on my own websites and on websites such as Seeking Alpha and a couple other news outlets. And it was actually because of the industry feedback, I had a couple of manufacturers, two small and one large one. They kind of just asked me, hey Max, you kind of know the gun business, and then they found out I have a couple of gun forums. We're like, do you want to just do a YouTube channel? So thanks to them, I kind of like, okay, let's do this. And with this, what I wanted to do is I wanted to combine the gun stuff, well, just purely the guns and the fun stuff, with what's actually happening with the industry and putting them together. Because one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that as a gun guy or a gal, and I'm sorry for that, for gun guys and gals, the last 3 years have been phenomenal. I mean, we've had cheap prices on black rifles. Ammo is basically near decade lows, actually decade lows prices. Um, but if you're an investor in the gun industry, whether you're investing in the publicly traded companies such as American Outdoors, which is the parent company of Smith and Wesson, whether you're invested in Ruger, the ammo company Vista Outdoors, which is Federal Spear and the whole conglomerate, and they actually had Savage Firearms was part of that big group. Then you have Taurus, if you're investing in Brazilian companies, and Sportsman Warehouse, which is a regional startup chain. If you're invested in any of those companies for the last 3 years, it's been a horrible experience with a lot of people losing a lot of money, up to even 80% in some cases. And a lot of people just kind of really didn't understand that. But to the gun guys, it's like, yeah, everyone knew that when Trump got elected, what was going to happen is great times for gun rights, but it's going to be a horrible time for gun investors. What we're seeing now, though, is we are heading back into an election, and one of the things that's starting to pop up is the Nix checks are coming up. And you do have a couple of YouTube channels, one big collective, and they talk about the Nix numbers. And if you heard, so August and September, they did set records, but I would say they're fake records. And the large problem with that is because I think people are focusing on the wrong data. So what I wanted to do with the series is once a month, as the data is published, we're a little bit late right now for October, but what I wanted to do, and actually just had the idea, is we'll talk about the gun industry, we'll look at the background check data, We'll take a look at what's going on around the industry, stuff that I'm getting from private companies, distributors, and I'll answer those questions. And this is going to be really good for people who are just interested in guns. And it's also going to be really helpful for anyone who's actually invested in the gun industry, once again, either publicly traded stocks or if you're a smaller firearms manufacturer, and I do know we have a couple of those joining probably today. So let's go through that. Let me just take a look at the house. Game 1 of the World Series. Perfect. Okay. Affordable optics. Can you see it yet, or just put something in there? And I think what I'll do is actually I will pop it up on my phone just to make sure it's all good. Oh, I actually just got the notification for the stream. Okay, perfect. All right, good stuff. Actually, I will do this anyway. Log in from a different account. And sorry, this feels completely unnatural. Okay. Woohoo, I see myself on a phone. This way I know it's working. All right, so let's look at the September data. So one of the things you guys have to realize is that when most of the media, whether it's the Wall Street Journal or a lot of the conservative publications, when we talk about the NICS data, what we're typically looking at is the headline numbers. So you can actually go and look at the data yourself. You just go on FBI's website, so FBI.gov, and then click on NICS, and there's going to be a whole section of reports. This is the main report that people are going to be looking at, which is the NICS firearms background checks by month by year, and the data goes back to 1998 when they started publishing it. So what we saw is this year, 2019, so they break it down by year, and then they also break it down by month. And what we see is that the headline numbers, I mean, they're pretty much at the highs or at the all-time highs. So the records that we set, particularly for August and September, so August there was 2.366 million background checks conducted by the FBI. In September it was 2.2 million. So once again, it was the highest September yet. So everyone almost immediately just started saying, hey, wow, the gun sales are the strongest ever. And after all, I mean, it is a background check. The one thing that would probably come a little bit as a surprise to gun people, but definitely not to my Seeking Alpha readers, is that we have to look at the actual data. So one of the things that's been happening, particularly with the rise in concealed carry checks, and unfortunately with the mass shootings, a lot of the states started running more up-to-date background checks for anybody who has a concealed carry license. So what we have, so the FBI also publishes a much more detailed report, which is the by month, by state, by type report. So let me zoom in. So what you can see is it's a one sheet. It breaks down all 50 states, and it's going to break down what type of background check it actually was, whether it was done for a pistol permit for a new one, whether it was a permit recheck. And then the categories that we really care about is this, which is handgun, long gun, other, and multiple. The other type of background checks that can be conducted are for pre-pawn. So if a pawn shop, you want to give your gun, they want to run a background check on it. And the redemption, a return or disposition. You can even do one for a rental. And then for private sales. And then return to seller private sales. But granted, those are minimal. So what the industry, by the industry I mean the NSSF, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, what they do is they have what's called adjusted data. By adjusted NICS data, what we're doing is we're taking the headline number and we're just taking out the permit and the permit recheck numbers. What I do, I have my own methodology, is instead of taking the headline number and then removing certain categories, the only thing I'm looking at is the handgun, long gun, other, and multiple category. And with that, every month, so I mean, it took a long time, but I do my own reports and I put them in articles and we do them for Seeking Alpha. So what does this have to do with anything? So August, one of the things we find is, so this chart is the combined August data for 99 through 2019. And then I break it down for handgun and for long gun data. So yes, it is absolutely true that August on the headline data was the highest August yet, and there are people going completely bonkers over it. The reality of the situation is that yes, while August was up, it definitely was still subdued versus what we saw in 2016. We did see a spike, we did see a bit of a spike, but it definitely wasn't record setting. Interestingly though, and one of the things we've been watching, so when we break it down between handgun and long gun data, so even though we did have, so this is 2016, this was before the election, then Trump got elected, they plummeted, I believe 10 or 15%, and then 2018 was another really, really bad year. And August 2019, we did have the second highest August yet. But interestingly, that's for handguns. If you're looking at the long gun data, the long gun numbers, and it almost doesn't matter what month, were at near decade lows. So you saw July was one of the worst times for rifle and shotgun sales in over a decade. And once again, we can kind of compare July 2016 versus July 2019. Massive drop. So we had 267,000 checks versus 440,000 checks. And that's what it is. I mean, that's the unfortunate truth with what's happening with the industry. If we look at, so August was definitely good, and I think a lot of what we had in August was with Beto, with the fear-mongering that we expected to come next year, it started coming earlier, and I think that's what we're starting to see play out. September was actually good, but it's gotten a little bit subdued, and you expect that to kick up. It was good, but it wasn't record-breaking by any means. So September 2019 for handgun sales was the third highest, behind 2015 and 2016. But once again, the really concerning part is if we're looking at the... and let me know if it's slowing down a little bit. It looks like there's some stuff in the background. I might have to close some windows. So if we're looking at the long gun data, 398,000 background checks for shotguns and rifles. That was better than 2018, but it was below 2017, 2016, 15, 13, 12, all of this. So it's still basically, it's the second lowest. It's the second lowest in over a decade. That's the truth. That's really what we have. And I suppose one question for that is it possible that the reason why we have such a big decrease in long gun data, because once again though, what are Democrats screaming about? We're going to come get your AK-47s, we're going to come get your AR-15s. But it's not showing up in the long gun data. It's simply not there. And besides even the background checks, if we're looking at the actual earnings results from both Ruger and Smith & Wesson, which publish their results, their long gun sales are not at records. They're simply not there. I think one explanation for this, and we'll have to take a look a little bit, dive a little bit deeper into it, is possible that some of the instead of gun owners going out and buying AR-15 rifles, we're going out and we're buying AR-15 pistols. Hey, Vanessa. And that's possibly holding it up a little bit. But overall, though, I mean, you still it is what it is. I mean, it's gotten better, but 2019 is definitely better than 2017 and 2018. There's no sound? There should be sound. I might just have to pick it up or just raise the volume a little bit. Vanessa, let me know. Okay. Yeah, just raise the volume up. Otherwise, I'm like, oh my god, I've been talking for 15 minutes and no one's heard me. No, but because I do have the microphone, I didn't want to over pump it up. All right. So that's the stuff. That's what's going on with the hand. That's what's going on with the NICS data. So it's going to be really interesting. Once again, I publish a monthly report. If you go on Seeking Alpha, just I'll include a link in the description. That's going to be the easiest way of going about it. So every month we do publish the NICS data, where we go over the headline numbers, we go over the handgun data, we look at the combined data, and then we dive deeper into it. And then basically, if you're an investor, there's going to be some good takeaways for you. Beyond that, I also write and I cover on the publicly traded gun stocks. So you can find me there. So I definitely cover American Outdoor Brands, Ruger, and Vista Outdoor. Although Vista Outdoor doesn't like me that much because I'm blamed for crashing their stock. And I suppose since this is actually here, here we go. 2016, right heading into the election, Smith & Wesson was at $28 a share. It cratered to right around $5 per share. Same thing for Ruger, wasn't as bad. I've been told that. Ruger has not. They've actually been much more consistent, and simply the reason why is they're much more fiscally prudent. The one I'm really blamed for is. So Vista Outdoor, from over $49 per share, over $50 a share, down to 5 and change, and right now we're at $6.50. And 3 years ago, I actually had an article out which was titled "Buy Ruger and Short the Rest," and I caught a lot of crap for it simply because we're like, oh well, look, Trump got elected, so it's going to be a great time for people going out there and buying guns. But the reality of it wasn't. And if you talk to anybody who actually understood guns, they would tell you, oh yeah, okay, good, Trump is elected, that means most of the things are probably not going to get banned, so there's no reason to go out there and buy guns. But unfortunately, what we saw is that Trump is more anti-gun than actually Obama was, and that's the sad truth. Even though Obama did it inadvertently, and let me know why. All right, so that's that. The other thing that's going on in the industry right now, and you'll probably start seeing more news about it, is you have so even though SHOT Show is the big industry trade show that everyone's familiar with, and then you have the retail show, which is the NRA annual meeting, what we have is the NASGW, which is the National Association for Sporting Goods Wholesalers. And that's going on right now, and that's the show that's happening in Orlando, where all the manufacturers are going out there and they're showing their guns to not necessarily just to the FFLs, but primarily to the large distributors. And we're seeing more product introductions on there, and one of the guns that totally caught me off guard was this guy, which is the Ruger PC Carbine in the new modular frame. And I was just browsing and I saw that popped up. I'm like, wait, didn't I just finish 2 articles on the brand new Ruger PC Carbine with the M-Lock rail? And now they went ahead and they did this. So I quickly sent a message to my contacts at Ruger. I'm like, hey, where's my gun? So I am getting it, and we'll do a review on it soon. What it is and what the major difference is, so it's the regular PC Carbine, that with the M-Lock rail, and I've done 2 videos on that so far, but what they did was they put it in a modular platform, and what that's going to do is it lets you use an AR stock of your choice and an AR pistol grip. This gun is primarily catered to people shooting like 3-gun matches or PC carbine matches. So it's gonna kind of blend between what a PC carbine is right now and a pistol caliber AR-15 variant. So it's going to be really interesting. And once again, you have a lot of really good features on it. The one thing is, and surprised but not surprised, is they got rid of the front sights and the iron sights completely. So you have just the rail section where you can mount an optic of your choice, but there's no front sight on the gun. So it's going to be interesting. Now, one of the things that I noticed is, and it's been confirmed slightly, is unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. That's YouTube for you. One of the things that's been confirmed is, and I don't have my hands on the gun yet, is that it is possible to put some type of a folding adapter on it. So I'm really looking forward to that because I think that would be really cool. Once again, is it needed? No, but it's cool. It's definitely one of those cool guns. And the other new gun that Ruger just announced is the Ruger Precision Rifle, which I just released a video yesterday on the 6.5 PRC, so I hope you enjoy it. But they released a new updated 6mm Creedmoor, this model. I don't know the differences, and I looked, but the biggest thing that I'm seeing is that it's a 26-inch barrel versus a 24-inch barrel, and possible the muzzle brake is going to be different. So I'll try to get one of these as well. I don't know if there's other differences. I did send an email to find out, but looking for the notes, I didn't really see too much difference. This is going to be a really interesting caliber. So 6mm Creedmoor, this is squarely aimed at people shooting precision rifle series, PRS. And once again, this is going to be a hot rod barrel burner of a cartridge. So you're going to get very high velocities. Probably, I don't know what 6mm Creedmoor goes up to, but I think maybe like 3,200 feet per second. Because that's the limit to PRS. And it's going to be very, very low recoil. So that's where this gun fits in. So it's basically, it's a 6.5 Creedmoor that's necked down to a 6mm. So you still have as much powder, you still have as much going on, but you're trying to shove a smaller bullet through a smaller hole, and it's going significantly faster. So you're going to have significantly more barrel wear. I would probably estimate maybe like 1,500 rounds, if that, versus, let's say, 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC, you're looking at least 2,500 to 3,000 rounds. Is the chat working? Okay, I'm having issues connecting to the chat. So what give me 1 second. I will open up my own. Okay, let me actually pop up the volume just a little bit more. Once again, it's my first one. Okay. Perfect. Hey, hello BC Outdoors. Okay, cool. Yeah, so YouTube actually has a different live streaming background panel, and that just failed to connect. So I'm like, okay, what's going on there? Okay. All right, so there you go. Those are the brand new guns from Ruger. I do think they're going to release a couple others. One second, sorry. I'm hearing myself in the background. Um, so it's going to be interesting. I wonder what they're going to release. So I do have. There's a couple of guns that I know are coming out. I don't know what their final form is going to be yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting SHOT Show. It is possible it's going to be announced in the next month or two. And that's the other thing with the industry. What's been happening is traditionally what we saw is, and you still have the small manufacturers, they still do this, they're going to release all of the cool new guns for SHOT Show. But in the last 2 years in particular, the larger gun companies, so Ruger, American Outdoors, Smith, which is Smith & Wesson, they haven't actually released new guns at SHOT Show, but in fact they release them at the wholesaler shows, such as NSGW, National Association for Sporting Goods. Yeah, I think I'm missing a letter. So that's what we saw. Even like Glock, for instance, instead of announcing the 43X and the 48 Black at SHOT Show, they announced earlier in the year, in December. So I think the next couple months are going to be really, really exciting for new guns, and I would pay attention to this brand. I think there's some really cool stuff coming out. I think we'll probably see more in the PC Carbine. Hopefully we'll see other calibers. Hopefully we'll see 10 millimeter. I hope, I don't know. And like I said, and I've been begging for 7.62 Tokarev, but there actually are issues with it. And the biggest, legit, wasn't joking about this. I wanted to see the PC Carbine in 7.62 Tokarev. And I actually talked to the engineers and the product guys at Ruger. The biggest issue is actually finding the magazines, because 7.62 Tokarev, it's longer round than even 10 millimeter, so you can't really stuff it in a Glock magazine. Even like the 10 millimeter or the 45 ACP, you can't stuff them in those bags, and it's not the most ideal situation to design a gun that's gonna work with 50 or 60-year-old magazines that you're gonna have issues trying to find. You can, and there's some people who did convert their Glock. What's the 10 millimeter one? What's the number on that? They did convert their 21s, and I guess it's the 20. They did convert it to 7.62 Tokarev, but with the magazine, they're only able to fit 5 rounds, so I think that would be kind of pointless if you're just doing 5 rounds. Yeah. But what I'm looking at, and I don't think I have it. Do I have the gun here? I'm actually staring at my office. No, I don't have it here. But the one magazine that may fit is, so if you're familiar with STI 2011s, STIs or SVIs, the magazines are basically fairly long bodies. It is possible, I think, that you should be able to fit 7.62 Tokarev in an SVI magazine, in which case it should be possible to chamber a PC Carbine in, or any other gun for that matter, in 7.62 Tokarev, while still having modern magazines. And I think that'd be really, really, really cool. And I think it's cool. It's definitely pointless, but it's just one of those things, like, as a gun guy, I think I would be excited about that, much like the 10 millimeter Colts. I think I would be fairly excited about seeing a PC Carbine that looks like a PPSH in a 10 millimeter. And I did actually talk to someone who's an engineer, and if we can't do it for Ruger, I think he was like gonna try to design a block for those guns that would take that. So it's gonna be interesting. Definitely, it's gonna be interesting. And then, so Smith & Wesson, I haven't seen anything new. I do think that they are going to be announcing something fairly big in the compact market. So in between the Shield and the M&P line, I think they're going to have something big there. So that is one of the things that they hinted on the earnings calls. And if you listen to the last earnings call, I did ask questions there. They're spending money on research and development, so I think in the next couple of months we're going to see something big there. And part of that is, I didn't even see it here. So if you haven't seen the post yet by now, Smith & Wesson, they just announced, they just had it on the top of the website. Maybe it's under the M&P. There we go. So they have a $50 mail-in rebate on the M&P 9 Shield and the 380 Shield EZ. And I did a video on the Shield EZ a couple months ago. And I love the gun. I thought it was a solution in search of a problem, but it's like, I really like the trigger on it. So it's an internal hammer fired. I love the grip safety on it, and I think this would be really cool. And I guess they're including the Performance Center shields as well. But, so the regular shield is, you can get it as low as $199 US. I know there's a couple of Canucks watching. It's $199 if you buy it on Palmetto State's website. So it's $249 minus the $50 rebate. And the Shield EZ, I believe, is $299 with a $50 mail-in rebate. So I think that's going to be a really good value. I mean, it's going to be very tough to beat. Even though I really like the Ruger Security 9 Compact, which is also a really cool gun. But these are just nice. And I do have a Shield. I know there's already a boatload of videos on the M&P 9 Shield, but woohoo, I do have a couple of guns here within my reach. Okay, so what do we have here? Yes, I have a 43X and a 48. So that's the Glock 43X, which I like quite a bit. So this is the black version, which I like quite a bit better than the two-tone. And I have the 48 also in black. And the reason, so basically I'm going to compare them to the Shield. The reason why I bring it up is $200 for a Shield versus like $400 for the 48, and actually I think it would primarily compete with the 43X. It's a tough sell. Even though I like the Glocks, well, let me phrase that. I hate Glocks and I make fun of Glocks, and I let the Glock reps know every time I see them that Glock is the Fisher Price. Yeah, it's the Fisher Price of guns. Or I guess the better example is the Glock is a Toyota Corolla of the gun world, meaning it's stupid reliable. You just wouldn't want to be caught dead driving one. They're awesome guns. I mean, they truly are, and I wouldn't hesitate to recommend a Glock to anybody, particularly new shooters. But at almost twice the price of the Shield, it would be tough. And even though I really like the Shield quite a bit, I've shot it, I like it. And the Shield EZ, I think for somebody who's starting up, I mean, there's a lot of really cool features in the Shield EZ. So I think the grip safety is really good to have. I like the fact that it's internal hammer fired and it doesn't have that dongle on the bottom. I really like the easy grip on the back. It's a cool gun, and it was funny. At SHOT Show, I was at a financial analyst meeting with American Outdoors, and he threw me a gun. I'm like, okay, what is this gonna be? It's a gun for noobs. But then I got it, and I was like, I took it out to the range. I shot it a bunch of times. I'm like, wow, this is actually a really cool gun, and my wife loved it. And I think for new shooters, I think it's going to be a good gun. It's in 380, but I think if we have that chambered in a 9 is going to be really cool. I think the only reason why we're not is they put so it's an easy rack slide because they took weight out of the slide, plus they put a low weight recoil spring on there. if you shoot it with a 9, it's gonna beat up the slide very much quicker. But if it did this similar type treatment and made it work for a 9, I think it'd be really cool. So yeah, we'll do the comparison on those. And like I said, the other guns in this price category are the Taurus G2c, and I do have 2 of those, one in 40 and one in 9mm, so we're going to do videos on those fairly soon. Also, I was really impressed with them. I like to crap on Taurus, but it was interesting. I mean, the trigger on it is fairly nice as well. And also from Taurus, we have the TX22, which I think for a 22 pistol at that price point, beyond the Ruger, let's put it, I guess, if you want a 22 pistol that looks like a real 9mm, the TX22 is a phenomenal gun. I don't think I have shooting footage of it yet that I posted. But it comes with a threaded barrel adapter, shot it a bunch of times. I think we were already up for about 2 bricks. 0, actually I lied, 1 malfunction, which was ammo related. But that's been a really cool gun, so we'll talk about those as well. So that's what I had planned. All right, feed me questions. What's going on? Oh, and once again, I mean, wow, we have like 8 people in the stream, so thank you all guys for joining. Love it. If you want to support the channel, you can do so on Patreon, or you can even do Super Chat. So that's definitely going to be appreciated. The channel did just get monetized. Awesome. In Russia, gun shoots you. No, shoot gun. Yeah, actually, what I wanted to discuss, let me know. So the whole Slav guns and the whole Slav mem. Yes, I really was born in the Soviet Union. I was actually born in Ukraine, but I'm one of those ethnic Russian-speaking Ukrainians. What do you think? And what I'm struggling with is the balance between serious and Slav. And so particularly for the guys who watch my 6.5 PRC video, what do you think about that? So yeah, the tracksuit stuff it's amazing. So like the whole premise behind it was, I'm like, okay, so I want to do a gun channel, but my whole philosophy behind it is I believe in self-deprecating humor, so I want it to be serious but at the same time a little bit funny, and I'm not going to be anyone who goes out there and makes fun of people. But I'm like, hey, you know what, I'm Slavic, let me actually make fun of my Slavic heritage. And I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? And one of my inspirations was I loved FPS Russia, but that guy, he's not a real Russian, and it pissed me off. So I'm like, okay, well, what can we do? And like, there's the whole Gopnik lifestyle. So that's the Adidas tracksuit, that's the squatting thing. And the funny part is, so I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this in the tracksuit and I'm going to squat. For the first couple of months, my wife was like, no. She's just like, I'm not going to let you do that. It's like, I don't know you. But I went out there, bought some Adidas, and I got to tell you, so even though, let me see, I don't know if you can see it, I'm wearing these now. It is freaking comfortable. So the red tracksuit, it does become hot, and I don't like that one that much. But the Adidas sweatpants, it's really comfortable. I'm not gonna lie. So yes, there are times that outside of when I'm recording, I will go out and I'll wear Adidas with Adidas and an Adidas. I am working on Adidas polos, so we'll see about that. But so yeah, let me know. So like, I'm trying to kind of like find the middle point between too much Slav, too little Slav. I definitely want to do the squats in there, and I think we'll leave those. So the original take is on it is normal content, and then for the bottom line, we'll do the squat. but let me know. All right. Wise guys, thank you. There's a question. Okay. How do you compare the Ruger RPR trigger in comparison to the Tikka T3? So I know of the Tikka T3. It's a really cool gun. I do not have experience that I recall with it. I'm sure I played with it at some point at one of the SHOT Shows, but I don't recall exactly what it is. So the RPR, and I talked about it in the video. So I guess it was in March, that's when I went out to the Ruger Media event in Texas. I shot both, so we shot 3 guns there, which was the Ruger Precision Rifle in 6.5 PRC, the Ruger Precision in 300 PRC, and the Ruger Hawkeye Long Range Target. At the event, I liked the Hawkeye Long Range Target a lot more, and I liked it because it had a flat trigger on it. It was a traditional 2-stage trigger, and it was flat. There was none of that bladed part. Right now, so when making the videos, and I've shot most of the LRT footage already, I'm leaning back towards the Ruger Precision Rifle. The trigger blade, what I found is, and this is going to be probably the same for the Savages, and I guess the Thompson Center also had the trigger blade, and I don't remember for the Howa. The trigger out of the box on the Ruger Precision Rifle and even the Hawkeye Long Range Target is going to be lighter than anything else I've seen that's factory, and significantly lighter than the Ruger Precision. Significantly lighter. Sorry. Significantly lighter than the Remington 700s. And I've got to admit, I actually had 2 negligent discharges with the long range target, the Hawkeye, the traditional Hawkeye gun, because that gun factory, I guess so it was actually the same gun that I shot at FTW, so it has more rounds for it. It's like right at 2 pounds, and I guess I wasn't expecting it. Granted, the gun was completely on target. It just broke before I expected it to, and I'm talking like milliseconds before. It was a little light. So what I found, and to answer the question, the Ruger Precision Rifle, because it has the bladed trigger, and I talked about this in the video, as you're pulling the trigger in, that blade, as it's being pulled in, it's the single stage on there, it accomplishes 2 things. So number 1, it helps you make sure that you're pulling the trigger in the straight back fashion instead of pulling it side to side. And number 2, it makes you more cognizant that you're trying to pull the trigger, and it gives you all the steps. Trigger break was just as clean with both of the guns, and it was one of the cleanest trigger breaks on any of the precision rifles that I've had yet, including I have a Mossberg Precision MVP. I haven't done a video on it yet, but I've played with it already. Definitely cleaner than the Thompson Center and cleaner than the Howa. Now, the one disclaimer with the Howa, I don't know how it is in Canada, but Legacy Outdoors is the distributor for Howa rifles in the United States. They put anti-tamper compound on the trigger adjustment, so you can't go in there and adjust the trigger, and it's set fairly heavy at right around like 4.5 pounds, even though the trigger, the hacked trigger, you can set it down to about 2.5 or 2 pounds as well. And so it just kind of like, is it, because it's not my gun, it was on loan, I didn't want to mess around with it. But the Ruger triggers out of the box, I mean, they're going to be good for 95% of the people. I would say only on the second day of the 3-day event at FTW Ranch, like, I mean, so this is maybe like 500 rounds down, you start getting to the point where a 2.5 pound trigger was a little bit heavier and you wanted something a little bit lighter, or possibly something a little bit cleaner. But if you're just going to the range and the first time you feel it, there's absolutely no problem. I really do like the trigger. I think it's going to be just fine for the vast majority of people, and it's definitely the cleanest trigger out of the 5 or 6 precision rifles that I've reviewed for the precision rifle series, and definitely for the guns that I remember shooting. So including like the Browning and a couple of others. So I do have in those same type of guns, I am waiting for a 6.5 PRC Savage, a 6.5 PRC Mossberg, and 2 6.5 PRCs from Bergara. So there's like a big weight on those. So I should have those hopefully in the next 30 days or so. And I'm really excited about the 6.5 PRC cartridge, so we'll cover a lot more of those. And I do have the 300 PRC as well. All right, so let me go through. So I hope that answered your question. All right. Privet. Okay, so actually, what else did I have? The Mossberg Shockwave SPX in the trunk of the Lexus for safe measure. What state do you live in? So it's interesting with the shockwaves, and I guess that's a good topic to discuss. So what's happening with the pistol braces? Most of the major manufacturers that I'm speaking with, they do expect the ATF is going to come down on pistol braces. It's probably going to happen in the next month or two. And there are two ways it can go. I mean, number one, it could be classified as a stock, and that's going to solve itself. Or what we're actually starting with the review is we're looking at the solid pistol braces. So like the Gearhead Works tail hook that goes around, or I believe it was the blade pistol brace, which is pretty much a regular stock. That's going to be interesting. Yeah, so with the whole firearm thing, I'm not sure if there's anybody here from Jersey or Connecticut. Right now in Jersey, other firearms such as the Troy A4 other, the Darkstorm Typhoon other, and the Variant 1 other, they're major sellers because it pretty much, I would hate to call it a loophole gun, but it's a loophole gun for the sole reason as we know what the intent of the banned states is, and when they wrote the laws, they just didn't take into account other firearms. And the Shockwave started it in the mass appeal, and now you have AR, so you have the other firearms from for Connecticut and New Jersey, and Franklin Armory just released their Tier 1, I believe, that's made for California. So that's going to be interesting to see how that gets the politicians riled up. That's going to be interesting for them. An SB3 brace for the Shockwave. I will say, we can make all the fun about the Shockwaves. We've shot trap and sporting clays with the Shockwaves, and it was actually fairly interesting. It was fairly interesting. I'm not against them. Hey, you know what? It's innovation. Why not? Okay. So we got the pistol braces. What else did I have on the list? So we covered Smith. Yeah. So I think we'll start wrapping up. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, what type of content you want to see. Next videos, I do have a couple of Troy ARs, so we're going to take a look at those. Also, big shout out to, I'm not sure if Donnie's here, from Havoc Tactical with the deflector brakes, which are really, really cool accessories. And awesome guys. And I think you know what we'll do? Give me 1 second. Okay, so thank you, Donnie and Havoc Tactical, for deflector brakes. We're gonna give 2 of these away. We'll pay shipping and everything. All you got to do: like the video, share the video, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment. And we'll pick one next week, I guess, if we do this, or we'll get in touch and we'll send them out. Woohoo! Thank you, Donnie. So what I plan on doing with live streams is, if you guys find this valuable, and honestly, I'm just glad, wow, there's like 7 people watching, which is kind of cool. If you like them, you can submit your questions, let me know ahead of time, and I'll make sure to cover that topic. So once a month, we'll definitely go over the state of the firearms industry. We'll go over the NICS data. If any of the companies reported earnings or anything else like that, we'll discuss that as well. If you want to talk anything specifically about the guns, let me know and we'll answer those questions. And I'll kind of give you a timeline of what videos are coming up. And if there's anything in particular that you want to see, we'll have that. So one example of that is actually from the Ruger Ruger PC Carbine video. Somebody wanted to know is there a significant difference in velocity between a PC carbine and a pistol? The whole notion that if the barrel is already too long, the velocity starts dropping down a bit. Same thing for what happens if you attach a suppressor. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a video with the PC carbine and a couple of the ZEV OZ9s. I have my lab radar, so thank you Creedmoor Sports. They sent me out a lab radar, and I'll include a link in the comments. And if you want stickers, just let me know. From all the SHOT Shows and all that stuff, I got stickers coming out my butt. Let me know, I'll give those away. But what we'll do, so we'll have a video kind of looking at the effects on ammo between, let's say for example, 9mm out of a carbine, of different lengths, suppressor, no suppressor, to kind of see what the velocities really are. Actually, I have a spreadsheet that I keep. Wrong account. I had my spreadsheet. I can't open it right now. But we had basically all the ideas. Working on a video of kind of like gift ideas for gun guys and gals who already have everything. But like I said, if there's anything like that about like USPSA shooting, anything you want to know, just leave it as a comment. We'll make sure we cover it. And I think the goal is calendar-wise, so still working it out. So every Monday we'll have a video release on a gun. I think Tuesdays we'll do a live stream, and eventually the goal is, so I'm working right now on getting a collection of videos for suppressors, or I guess for oppressed Thursdays, which is going to be either full auto stuff or suppressors, and we'll do that on Thursday. So that I think is the goal, and that should be doable. So if you want anything for those, just let me know, and we'll cover those. So that's what I have. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for coming on. Leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.